Welcome to the You Decide podcast. I'm Dr. Tiffany. We are going to bring you stories of ordinary people who have chosen to live an extraordinary life, outside of their comfort zones and into confidence, possibility, and certainty. You are just one decision away from living your most aligned life, because let's get real, that's what we all want. All right, crew, thanks for listening. Today we have Miss Brenda Entz. I call her the First Lady of Bison football. Hi, Brendy.
Hello.
Morning.
How are you?
Great.
Good.
Okay, so we're going to talk about a few things, but first things first, I want just to get a little bit into the head of the main supportive role for your hubby.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You are definitely the brains and the hands behind what everybody sees. So
I try to be. I just do my job.
Oh, well, and so I think of in my situation with my work and my responsibilities there, there would be no way I would be as good as you. So I think there's not time. There isn't time, right? So It's kind of like you and I have had this conversation about when you and Matt got together, you knew obviously coming into a coaching relationship, you needed to be a bit more flexible with your life, the life that you were choosing to create together, but knowing that his dream was to be a D1 coach, right?
Yep.
That was always his dream.
Head coach somewhere, yes. Yeah.
So tell me how you continued to have your dream as a career person. You're also a career person. Yeah. And knowing that you were going to have children, mm-hmm. and knowing you wanted to be the best wife possible. Tell me how does that happen? How did you get there?
Well, you know what? Probably the first word that comes to mind is independence. There's a lot of time that those coaches put in at the office, and you know that they come home at night, so that's always a positive. You know, there's a lot of professions in this world where wives don't see their husbands because of traveling or military or whatever. So I always get to see Matt at the end of the day, and that's a great thing. Mm-hmm. But you fill your time with the things that you want to do and what drives you, and surrounding yourself with, amazing friends, which, we have here. And you kind of, you and me have talked about that before. You kind of have your tribe and you love them hard and you count on them and they count on you. And sometimes I feel like I count on them more. Mm-hmm. But, just being independent enough to say, hey, you know what? I went to college too. I got a degree too. I want to work and I want to give back to this family as well. And so that's probably, just for me, it was where it started, was finding a job where, I was always going to be the one that was going to pick up and go. We were never going to leave a town for my job. Right. That was never going to happen. And I had to accept that right away. And I was okay with that. And maybe that's because that was the way I was raised. You kind of the man always kind of was the provider, so to speak. But still, my mom also worked and provided. And, but, the other part of that role is being a mom. So I guess I just kept plugging away knowing that. And you know what, everywhere we've gone, I've always been able to find a job. And honestly, I can truly say this, one that I love, and the people I work with that I've had the opportunities to work with have been amazing, just awesome. So
I just think it says so much about your character. There are so many women, obviously, in this case that I see would take a completely different route, and you've maybe seen it also, of a little bit of pity, loneliness, not finding their tribe, because if you don't have your tribe, that would be real lonely, right?
Oh, for sure.
If you're
For
not
sure.
comfortable getting
Yeah.
out there and putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
Like, have you seen that in this profession, or is everybody just kind of sees that the wife of a coach and understands what they're going through without them needing to actually enter into your crew?
You know, I think people get it, you know. They understand the hours that goes into it. Oftentimes it's kind of funny, you know, I haven't really had the question here, because I think Bison Nation, you know, they all eat, you know, breathe, sleep this football world
Mm-hmm.
here.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, at previous places where we've been, you know, so what does your husband do when season's over? You know, it's like they think that they just sit around.
Yeah, they think the performance is it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and as a wife, you just, you know what? There's recruiting. There's more recruiting. The recruiting never ends. You know, there's the spring balls. There's the camps. I mean, for the most part, I think people get it.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, there are some people that are like, oh, gosh, you just do everything. I'm like, no, really, I don't. You know, like, I love what Matt does. I can't imagine him doing anything else. And there are amazing families and women that are also part of our NDSU Bison family. And, you know, we kind of have each other. And we've started a Bible study, a coach's wife Bible study. And it's really great. Yeah, it's really great, because oftentimes we're not able to get to church, or, you know, you just want that Sunday morning at home with your coach.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, that's really been good for, I think, a lot of us, just to have that time to connect and share our faith. And so, yeah.
So when you said, any of us who have known you for some time have always said that you call the shots in your family, and we obviously know you don't, because you guys are a very, you're a power couple. I think one amazing thing about Matt is that he truly wants you to have that life and those people, and he tells you to go and do what you love. And, you know, if you don't have that, that's definitely going to affect your relationship also. But when you're raising kids and the hustle bustle and you're working and all of these things, what got you through asking for help? Because asking for help is very difficult. Was it ever difficult for you?
You know, at times I would say yes. But I think you just have to be humble, and you have to know that I think when I was, you know, there's been, you know, coaches' wives on other staffs that have done this before, you know, and they get it, and they encourage you to ask for help. And I always do the same thing. I'm like, you know, I know I can't be there all the time, but if somebody's sick or somebody needs something, I hope they would call, or call each other. But, you know, the one thing about it is we've never lived in a town where our family is.
Right.
Never. You know, like, my mom and dad have always been at least 5 or more hours away. Matt's have been 4 or more away. So you just start to, you just reach out and you make really good friends, and hopefully they can help you out, and you help them out at times. And you just have to ask, you know, you just have to be able to just ask. You'll never know if you don't ask.
Awesome. So
yeah.
What are your keys in being the best everything right now? The best support for him, the best mom, the best friend, the best support for all your Bison wives?
Oh,
I'm getting into your gifts here, girl.
boy, I would say, first of all, you just gotta take every day, one day at a time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you never want to we always say it in our house, you never want to overlook the next opponent and think on to the next one. And I kind of always use that in my everyday life too. You don't ever want to overlook the next day, the next hour. You know, I think the one thing for a lot of coaching families and families in general is you always put your kids first. There's a lot of things that go along with this job, little events that you need to be at and social events, this, that, whatever. And sometimes you just can't do it because, you know, your kid's got a game on Friday night and you're not missing it.
Right.
And you got to be willing to I always just remind myself, you know what, I get one shot at this mom thing. And you can't, like you just got to do it and be there for them, because if you're not in the stands for your kids, then who is, you know?
Yeah.
Like, what if something happens? Or, I guess I would just say taking it one day at a time, and
Okay.
And always being you. Yeah.
We're gonna talk about game face because they're just a run on.
Okay.
A run on sports and a run on families and a run on all this thing. And when we talk about get your game face on, have your priorities right, have your values in line, so making those decisions are easier, right? So are you going to do your Friday night, or are you going to do the social for the Bison crew?
Yeah.
Have priorities and values always been aligned like they are now? Has it always been easy to say, this is my first go, this is my, because I feel like a lot of people struggle with the guilt of saying no, right? Or the guilt of not being able to help this person, this organization. But in the meantime, many times then we sacrifice something else that's bigger for saying yes to somebody else.
Right. I don't know, I guess, there's been some times where, you know, I've asked myself if that was the right decision. But at the end of the day, you just got to go with your gut. And, you know, I guess kind of have no regrets, you know, just, that's a tough one to kind of answer. Like, I would say no, they haven't always been that way. You know, there's often times like when the kids were little and, you know, you're kind of being pulled here, pulled there, and getting babysitters. You know, I'm like, okay, we're going to all these events and we're paying a lot of money for this babysitter. And is it necessary? Do we need to be there? Can one of us be there? And now it's different because, you know, the kids are old enough and we can go.
Right.
But I also rewind myself back, and I think sometimes people just assume that it's easy for us because of where our kids are right now.
Right.
But we didn't just start coaching, you know, football 5 years ago.
Right.
Like, our kids were born into this. I've had babies in this lifestyle. It's not easy. But it's also what you make of it. You know, so if you're the type of person that is, you know, I'm just going to stay here in this house and, you know, because I have to, because I'm the only one, you know, then that's the wrong attitude. I feel like, you know, there's a lot of really great opportunities to get to meet and have relationships inside your program with other wives and their families. And, you know, if you don't do that, I think you're kind of discrediting yourself, and because it's there, the help is there, the The people are there, the understanding, it's always there. We all have the same issues. You know, your husband's gone recruiting in the dead of winter, and you're the one out there scooping the sidewalk, and you got a baby in the crib at 5:00 in the morning, probably screaming its head off. Yeah, we've all been there.
Yep.
But you know, you just have to, again, put one foot in front of the other and keep going. And I don't ever feel like it's a pity thing, you know, like I always look at it like, see what I can do. I don't need no man. I got this. You know? Yeah. Like, it's kind of, sometimes I feel like the lifestyle is empowering for, yeah, you can do it. Anybody can do anything.
See, I love that. I that is going to, I think, okay, so in the beginning when you said the role, we're not likely going to move for my job, we're going to move for his job, and
yes,
the breadwinner and the provider and the fixer and all that kind of stuff. Well, so many times we can go to the nth degree, right? And fall into, well, then I don't have a voice and I'm not independent and I fall under this umbrella of him instead of these two umbrellas. And that's where a lot of them go. A lot of them, probably not only women, but the opposite of the breadwinner now, right? Right. So I think it's so interesting, and it says so much about Matt and your relationship also, that it's always been an equal, no matter who was doing what. It doesn't matter. In order to be the best family you can be, you are equal parts. And that, because I work with so many women and families, isn't always what it is. And so you have to have that burning in your soul to know that I am independent, I am good enough, I am going to do this, I am going to empower myself. That didn't just happen to you. Of course, upbringing, right? They teach us some of that, but I remember the first time I met you, you were never the meek, mild girl sitting in the corner saying, we moved to Fargo for my husband. Ever. You were never that, right? No. So I sometimes you may not remember how powerful you are.
Thank you. Thank you. I guess the one thing too, you know, with all of that is, I mean, ever since I've known Matt, he's always been really, like before we ever got married, I remember he was sitting on the couch at my mom and dad's and he's reading the newspaper. And I hadn't even graduated college yet. And he's reading the newspaper and he's like, hey, there's a job open in, you know, in your field, wellness education. I'm like, okay. And he goes, it's at the hospital here in Norfolk. And I'm like, oh. And I said, I don't have enough experience for that. I'm not even graduated yet. I don't even have my internship done yet, you know, which I was just about. This was like maybe in April or May. And I was about to graduate in May. And he just looked at me and he goes, why don't you think you could do this? And I'm like, well, I don't know. Let me read it. So I read it and I'm like, well, I could do that. He's like, damn right you could do that. And he's like, you need to apply for it. The worst thing they're going to tell you is no, and we move along. But he's like, I think you need to go for it. And he's like, what do you got to lose? And I feel like I've always kind of he's always been that way for me, is what do you have to lose? Nothing. Do it. If you want to do that, you can do it. And, you know, fast forward to 10 years later down the road, and we're moving to Cedar Falls, Iowa. So, you know, Matt can coach at UNI. It was his first time to go D1. And, you know, he had to take a pay cut. Like, you would think you're going from D2 to D1 that you get a pay raise. Nope. He took a pay cut. But we were like, you know what, we can do this. Well, then, lo and behold, a director of an education position came open at a hospital in Waverly, Iowa. And he saw it. Again, he's always looking out for me. He was always the guy like, okay, if I make this move, I'm going to start running and see what I can find for Brenda, you know, because he was always that way. Like, we're going to yep, we might be moving for me, but really we're going to do this together. He's always looking out for me, and I love that about him. He still does that. And there was this job, and it was like probably way out of my league. Like, it's a director job. You know, I've only been like a coordinator or a specialist. And again, there was that, well, why wouldn't this be the next step that you would take? What do you got to lose? Apply for it. Lo and behold, I get the job. And to top it off, this job also like paid more than I had ever made. And so we kind of, it like washed itself out financially. We felt like, oh, we'll be fine now.
Yep.
So he's just always been that way. And he is still to this day, you know, and when he got the job here, he, you know, when he got the head coaching job, he said, you know what, it's up to you. If you feel like you want to keep working full time, then go for it. But he said, you know what, you're at the point now where I'm going to need more of you to help me here and there. And he said, I want you to be there for the boys. And I know that's where your heart is right now with them. And it's so true.
Yeah.
Because that is where, you know, there's just, I feel like our boys are at, yep, when they're little, you know, every critical year you have with your kids to raise them is important. But, you know, now you're getting into like real stuff, like things that can change a kid and mold a kid forever, the things that they'll remember. And I don't want to miss it, you know, and I think Matt feels like I'm missing a lot, so you can't.
One
of us has to soak this up.
Right.
And he's like, and it's going to be you. So that when we're old and gray, you can tell me all these stories that I missed.
So on that, how does he feel missing stuff?
Oh, guy hates it. But you know, like, obviously what would we do without technology now, you know? I'm always doing something to, you know, video this, video that. But you know what? Like, I always tell Matt, I said, you know what, Matt, there's a lot of dads in this world that have absolutely nothing to do with their kids. You're not one of them. You're always there, you know, you're there.
Yeah.
It's just a different there, you know, and he loves the heck out of them. And trust me, there's no place he'd rather be than sitting right next to me every Friday night, watching them play, or, you know, the basketball games. And, but you know, the time that he does get, it is spent with his kids and me. You know, it's like there's a lot of dads that, you know, they're gone. And then when they have the time, you know, they're out doing something that's not even close to the family. And he's not that way. He's always, there's always times where I'm like, let's go do this together. You know, let's just go do this, you and me. And he's like, no, I want the boys to come too. So
that's amazing. I think of you often with, just because it's, obviously we have our passions, and what his work is that his boys are that, and you are that. And that, in many situations, he cannot prioritize because it's prioritized for him. And so I think there's so much that, it doesn't matter if you're a coach or not, when you're missing kids' stuff or things that are important to you, time, let's just say, so many people don't make it up.
Right.
That makes sense, right? So you finally have a break. Matt finally has a break. For so many people, his Sunday then would be just watching football by himself, or gaming, or being with friends if he was that, right?
Yeah.
And how his priorities are extremely set. Now you have to deal with when you can't get there, how your heart feels for a while. And I agree with you. There's so many of these stages that, you know, our kids are the same age. There's so many of these stages that are critical. I was just talking to a patient last week about this actually, and how I feel it is more critical what you said about life happens. You have two boys that maybe don't say, Mom, I need to talk to you right now. You need to be in their presence to have conversation, and you need to be present and not distracted, or they won't talk. And I think about this stage, this middle school, high school stage, and how important it is to be accessible. Oh my gosh. If we were not home as much when the kids were little, we had amazing nannies, we had amazing daycares. But that's just our personal, and now it's way different. We're home more. At least one of us is home more now as the kids have gotten to this age. Because man, that's when they're starting to remember things. They start to pull away. As soon as you see them pull away, how do you get them to lean back in? And what we were just talking about, like one of your oldest friends is chronically sick. A kid like that, if they don't have a safe place to be able to talk and ask the questions of like, why him? Why not somebody else? That will forever impact them, and they may never be able to talk about it.
Exactly. I know, like I remember when they were first born, and you have that like total guilt of taking them to daycare. And it's like, and then they go to kindergarten, and that's even worse. Like by far, that was the worst day for me. I'm like, I don't know why kindergarten was so much worse than the first day of daycare, but you think back on those times and you're like, those were still the days when you picked them up from daycare and they came home and they stayed home. Well, that's not the case anymore, and I'm not hauling my kids here and there. They can drive. They're pretty self-sufficient. But you're right. There's just those crucial opportunities to just be here or be there. And I'm really lucky to have that, and I'm really lucky to have, a spouse that says, you know what, Brenda, it's okay. And that's where I want you to be. Because I had that guilt of, well, now I'm not going to, we have this joke that, I'll work like maybe 1 or 2 days a week, and my paycheck, the next week or whatever, it's like $200. And everyone makes fun of me in the house, but you know what? It's at the same time, Matt's like, you know what? Who cares?
Right.
He's like, you deserve to have this, time in your life. And he's like, and I need you helping me, on certain days to just have a presence around the football office or, around the guys. And let me tell you what, those are some pretty special times. So
oh my gosh.
Nothing I ever
family. They all have their moms, but they don't have their moms locally either.
Right.
So how to be that open door for those men too.
And there's just last Tuesday I went up and ate with the team. They do like a team meal every Tuesday night, and sometimes I get up there, sometimes I don't. But this particular day I did, and I saw one of the players come through, and I know him well enough that I knew something was wrong, and I was there to eat dinner with Matt, and I think I sat and ate with this gentleman the whole time, and you just knew that he needed somebody else other than a coach or one of his buddies, and it was a really, really awesome to just sit there and have 20 minutes with him and talk to him. So
you're making ripples, my friend.
Well, you know what? Some days I'm more productive than others. But we could all.
Aren't we all?
Say that, right?
Oh my gosh, completely. And I don't think the goal is to be productive every day in terms of action and do. I think, what if productive meant rest when we need to rest, or be with friends we need to be with friends? Sometimes the refilling doesn't feel productive. because we're so stuck in action and to-do lists that are productive and accomplished, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you're living a hell of a life right now. You wouldn't trade it for the world, right?
No way.
That's
no
productive.
way. It's like, you know, you always look at the time that, yep, they put a lot of time in, and there's a lot that goes into this. But boy, let me tell you what, the reward that you get out of it, wins, losses, no matter what happens, it's just amazing, and very fortunate and grateful to be doing this. So
that's awesome. Thank you for sharing your story. A little glimpse into Matt's world and how you are the best for him and for Kellen and Connor and for all of us people in the community too. So
well, thank you. But we love everybody, and you guys all give it right back. So
yep. That's the name of the game. That's when you know you found your tribe, right?
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you a million.
Yes.
Thank you so much for listening and being willing to go all in. Ditch the excuses and the comfort zones and make a decision that nothing can stop you. You can find the show notes below, and I'd love for you to share, subscribe, and rate this podcast, but only if you love it.